What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the A5 podcast. Again, guys, seriously, we love you so much. Thank you for checking our episodes weekly, for leaving comments, subscribing, liking, sharing with other people. It truly means the world to us. And so today, let's just get right into another conversation that we have. Renee, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about something that actually came in through our DMs.
Okay.
Someone went ahead and shot us a DM after we posed, ask us anything kind of Instagram story. And they replied with how to handle being in ministry while being in that ministry. You're also around your ex that you recently just broke up. So let me rephrase that because that was horrible. How do I handle being around my ex that after we just broke up and being in ministry with that person?
Got it.
So they're in the same ministry. They see each other weekly, multiple times a week. How do they handle that? Practically, spiritually.
It's hard. I want to acknowledge it's a hard thing to do, and to be mature, and be faithful to what you're serving, in the ministry, and not let personal, life things affect what you do, whether it's on the altar or behind the scenes at a church, because the people who you serve, they have their own lives and they're going through their own things, and you're there to serve, and so it's important to not let what you're going through affect how you're serving, and even bleeding onto people unintentionally that you're supposed to be leading. And so it's a great question, hard to do. If you're called to ministry, it's almost like maybe not in the realm of relationships, but in terms of like maybe hurt and pain, I say like, well, get used to it. There's going to be a lot of seasons where you carry a lot of things, and maybe there's like, God forbid on staff, you have some tension and you have to serve with someone, and there's going to be more situations where you may have to deal with this. So I think it's a great question to go into. What are you guys thinking?
No, I mean, I'll say that's why it's so important that when you date, you keep boundaries sexually. Because, I mean, let's keep it a buck. Like, it's one thing. I'm not diminishing the pain. Like, let's say you were pure, you didn't do anything, you didn't even
grab. To give context, we don't know if these people had.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I'm just talking in general. I love the question, but I think I want to apply it to everybody in general, because they're not the only ones in ministry, right?
Right.
And they're not the first ones to probably get tempted with something. But I always go back to, especially not just ministry, but going to the same church. That's why it's so important to keep boundaries. And that's why God says to wait until marriage. Yeah. Because I'm not diminishing the pain. Even if you didn't cross that line, there's still an emotional pain there. But it's so much harder when you cross that line. I mean, biblically speaking, you become one, and that there's a soul tie there. So when you have to break that because you were engaging in something you were never meant to do outside of the covenant of marriage, it hurts. Yeah. And especially seeing that person, you've already been intimate with them. It's like, it hurts, right? So the question is, how do you get, whether it's a physical thing, emotional thing, or both, you need a lot of maturity. Yes. You need a lot of healing, to be honest. I'm going to say something you guys may disagree, and you guys let me know, but I think
you're wrong.
Fair enough. Okay. Bye.
And that's the episode.
I think there may be a case for speaking with your former girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and being like, hey, I'm going to go to the 10 a.m. Can we keep a boundary? Like, you go to 12. Oh, but they're in ministry. They work together, right?
They work, yeah.
They're in the same ministry, yeah.
I think if it's tough, and if you have to ask this question, that means it's hard. Get your leader involved.
I was just going to say,
there's wisdom in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just cover yourself. Both parties, mind you. I think, if you're the boyfriend, get your leader involved. If you're the girlfriend that was in that relationship, get your leader involved. Just have them cover you. Yeah. Have them see your blind spots. Have them catch your face, your attitude. You guys are in the same room together. You're in the lobby, and it's like you cross paths, and it's like, oh, and did you give him a stank face? It's like, yeah, that's real. Cover. Just have them be your covering. Yeah. Like, help them keep you accountable. And they'll also be guarding you. Like, kind of throw it on them. They can handle it. Because you might not always have the luxury of being scheduled on different days. Like, you're going to have to cross paths. And having leaders involved just helps you guys navigate that situation as it gets lighter, which is the goal in healing. I think eventually let that encourage you that it won't always suck this bad. It's going to kind of lighten up. Things will get normal again. So I think step one, practical, get your leader
1,000%.
involved.
Get your pastor leader involved. Set up things that you may have to, for a season, change some things, because it's not just what happens if you're that hurt, which understandably so.
Yeah.
If you're that hurt, it's not just, you're not hurting only when you're in church with them and you see them. You're hurting at home when you're thinking about them, when you're looking at your phone.
Correct.
I always tell people, like, first things first, like, delete all the pictures. Like, I know people that keep pictures for like a year and they're like crying looking at pictures. I'm like, dude,
and don't archive, delete
them. Delete them. Like, what are you doing? And so that's one thing. Practical boundaries. I mean, I don't know if you used to go to Dairy Queen on Wednesday nights. Don't go to Dairy Queen. I don't know. Like, there's some practical things.
Yeah.
Control what you can control.
There's things you can control, you know. Correct. There's controllable variables and there's uncontrollable variables. So if you both go to LA Fitness, then now you know you need to start going to UFit.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Or go to the other LA Fitness that's a little further from your house, because you know you're going to bump into them there. And sometimes as humans, and I say this from experience, sometimes we go and place ourselves in those places, those physical places, because it's like, oh, I hope like, you're not telling yourself actively, I hope I bump into, but it's like, but you know what you're
doing it on purpose.
You're doing it on purpose. You want to see them because you want to see who they're working out with, right? For example, let's keep it at the gym, right? Just as an example. You want to see who their new gym partner is, if they have one, right? You want to see who they're hanging out with, what are they doing, whatever it might be. So you have to be very strict with yourself, very self-disciplined, to be like, you know what? I know this is the place that you like to frequent. Church is a whole different thing, right? Again, a gym, a movie theater, a Dairy Queen, a McDonald's down the street. Those are things you can change. Now your church is kind of like work, right? Like when you date, so this is why you don't dip your pen in the company ink, right? Like don't.
I like how you put that. But yes,
you know, like don't date in the workplace, right? Like whether it's that you both came from the world or you both met each other at church. The whole thing about if you meet each other at church, it's kind of like work, right? You have to know that when you're dating in church, there's a possibility of you guys maybe breaking up. Yeah. And if you do, now you have to be an adult and handle it and be cordial. Don't be weird. Don't be rude. And that's why I love what you said, Eric. Get your leader involved, because your leader will call you out. If you have a good leader, they're going to call you out. And they're going to be like, hey, man, I saw that, you know, you just walked.
Yeah. You can't act like that. You can't say that.
Yeah. Like
you can't.
You literally went up to, she was in a group of people. You went up and said hi to the four out of the 5 people that were there.
Say hi to her,
and you didn't say hi to her.
It's like, hey.
She was the 5th person. You didn't say hi to her. So don't be weird. You get me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honor carries in and out of the relationship.
1,000%.
And I think, you know, be a man if you're the guy and honor the breakup, meaning do what you're supposed to do. Give space and context. God will give you the wisdom you need in every moment. I think they'll be hard, but you will know when's a moment, you know, that you do not need to be approaching so-and-so in a group. There'll be a moment where you get jealous in the lobby. Oh, she's talking to someone. And it's just like, and there'll be a moment where, you know, you'll know when you need to and when you don't need to be doing anything engaging. Honor the breakup. Give space where there needs to be space. And I say honor where you're serving. I think this is a hard thing when you go through a breakup, but when you serve, just remind yourself that it was, and if it was, that's a problem, but it was never about her or him. You know, if you're the girlfriend in this case, I think remember that your service to the Lord, when you're serving in the house of God, that it's about Jesus and about bringing people to Jesus. Yeah. You're going through something and it's hard. I think if you can't separate the two, you need time off. It's not that you can't serve together. It's not maybe the other person's problem. We can't be. I think it's you need to maybe take some time off. To get yourself well enough to be in the same room to serve. That's still good. Come to church, but maybe you can't be, you know, leading.
Correct.
At that moment.
Right.
Take some time.
I would also ask, like, what's your prayer life like? Because
yes.
I would also.
So wait, hold on. So this is a good segue to what Eric just talked about, and I think to what you're going into. It's staying faithful in the serving and the calling.
Okay. Yeah.
When you still need to heal from that breakup, when your heart is still in need of healing. So you were saying your prayer, because I'm assuming you're going to say that prayer life is obviously tied to that.
Yeah, and yes, you should have a prayer life, but what are you praying, right? Because are you praying, God, please change our heart? Like, let's
get back together.
Help us get back together. When you break up, you have to acknowledge that there is a very real possibility that you might never get back together again.
Yeah,
like that
100%.
might have not been the person that God meant for you to be with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to immediately, like, I think, my opinion, I think you have to start asking the Lord to heal you and to release you. Because the problem is that if you keep on this hope, and let's say she's not the one, you're going to be for a year praying, Lord, please, please help us get back together. Change me to the man she needs me to be, blah, blah, blah. And then a year later, she's already matured, grown, healed, and she's dating someone else. And now you're even in a darker hole. Does that make sense?
You're crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, like, when breakups, like, man, we need to pray for a healing, right? And for God to heal, restore. And if you guys end up getting back together, great. But at least you're two healed people getting back together. Versus you are holding on to this thing for so long because you think there's a glimmer of hope. And then God actually says, no, it's not what I have for you. So it's almost like, what's your prayer life look like during the season? And what are you praying? You have to actively say, Lord, I give you my life. I surrender my full will.
Yeah.
If I never get back together with this person, I trust you.
Right.
And a lot of people, like I've counseled young couples. Like there was this couple that I was helping. They were leaning on my wife and I, and they had crossed the boundaries sexually. So we had encouraged them to maybe take a break, to establish some parameters. And we were telling them, you guys need to be okay with praying, Lord, if we never get back together again, that's okay.
Yeah.
And they at first didn't want to. They're like, what? And we're like, you need to be okay with that. Like, what if this is not the one?
You need to be okay with God's will, and God's will doesn't align with what you want all the time.
And it's funny because they actually took a break, and they actually ended up breaking up and going their separate ways, and now they're both fine separately. But they needed to take that first step and then say, Lord, change our hearts. Because they were like, God, thank you for this person. This is my husband, because I say so. I love him, and he's the one. And it's like, is he? Until that ring's not on your finger, until you say I do, is he? Like, right? So, I think prayer life is important. And I think if you start to heal in that season immediately, then you can remain faithful, I think, in the ministry. Because let's keep it real. I mean, when you're hurt, breakups are tough, man. Breakups are super tough. And
they can be nasty sometimes.
That's true, too. Very nasty.
But it's your opportunity to reprioritize, right? Maybe this person, this is not always the case, but oftentimes it is. This person became too much of a spotlight, a hope, a dream, an idol in your life.
I was about to say that.
And now that you've broken up, you're getting the after effects of this person was an idol, a hope, a dream in my life, and it wasn't the Lord. And so now you're consumed by it. So serving together is miserable. And it's just like, oh my gosh, and you just can't. And you can't take your eyes off this person, so much so. And there's a natural effect where that's true for everyone. And then there's like an unhealthy, you idolize this person, and now you're crushed from it. I think if it's so bad where it's miserable for a really long time, you had an issue way before the breakup. I think so. I think you have made this person a god to you, a hope to you. And I think it's a lesson to be learned that you should not put anyone in your life in the place that where God should be. The attention you give them, the hope you put in them, the expectation over them. It's the grass fades, the flowers wither or whatever, but the word of the Lord remains true forever. It's God is who I put my hope in. He doesn't fail me. Because he doesn't fail me or he doesn't fade away, I know he can't hurt me. Everything else fails. That's gonna hurt me. Therefore, I should not put my hope in that.
That's good.
Relationship, job, you whatever you want to tie that to, it's true. If it fades, you don't put your hope in it. You shouldn't. That's why they don't make bad idols. They fail. And so sometimes it's a case of that where it's so bad. It's because I think it's just the after effect of, during the relationship, it wasn't healthy. And you've put too much of an emphasis on it. I love what you said about prayer, though. How are you praying through the breakup? Some people don't even pray.
And I mean, even before the breakup, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's just that I remembered one time I was praying. I was starting to like this girl in church. who was clearly not God's will for my life. Like, I ended up marrying my wife, thank God. But at the time that I was dating someone who was a Christian, went to church, Yule at the time, who was my mentor, he challenged me with something, because I was like, man, I'm just praying, you know, if it's God's will for her to be my wife, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Yule challenged me with something. He's like, well, instead of praying, God, if it's your will, say, God, if it's not your will, change my heart and remove these feelings from me. I was like, what? Because there's something about saying that the negative, like, God, if it's not your will, that's harder to say.
Yeah.
God, if it's your will, the yes, please let it be your will, versus God, if it's not your will, close the door. It's a difference in heart.
And God's like, bet.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. And that's what happened, like, within 2 weeks. And so, yeah, that's why I said the prayer thing.
Yeah.
I also think there's a larger conversation had to be had within church, that it's like thinking you're married too quickly, like you're only dating.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But
playing
you're like
house,
not
playing house, but playing
maybe
marriage.
not playing house, but like also like pretending that you're married, and that's not your wife,
right?
And sometimes I think, especially in church, we can run maybe a little too quick into relationships. We can run a little bit too quick into, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not a horrible thing to dream, you know, like what would our life look like? I mean, I think that's important.
Well, I mean, listen, I tell everybody, if at 6 months you can't, you know, tell yourself, you know, I can see myself with this person for the rest of, you know, I can see myself married to this person, right? If at a year you don't know for sure this is going to be the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, you are wasting your time. And that goes for both in church and outside of church. Sure. You are wasting your time.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is not the this is not the type of episode, but still, it's a pointer. But real quick, I wanted to touch on prayer. One of our friends from church, he's currently going through a breakup himself, and man, I won't say his name.
Who?
I almost said it. Damn.
I'm messing with you.
No. Even if I did, I would edit it out.
Pedro Ramirez.
No, but he's a I don't even think he watches the pod, so he won't know that I'm talking about him. But man, I admire how he has totally just dived into Jesus. This guy, you know, him and his girlfriend, they lived together. They broke up. It wasn't a nasty breakup, but I told him, I don't think you're going through a nasty breakup. I think you're going through a heavy breakup. Yeah. Because you guys shared a life together. You guys shared a home together. Mm-hmm. So it's a little heavy when the routine is broken and now you don't wake up to that person anymore. You don't come home to that person anymore. You know? So now he's obviously, you know, he's living on his own. She's living on her own. But man, and I don't know how her life is going too much, but they're both still at church, right? They're still both at our church. But man, he told me, he's like, I've been fasting 3 days out of the week.
Wow.
You know, for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I think he told me. And he goes, man, and my prayer has been, Lord, change me, change my heart, break me, Lord, make me into who you need me to be. And I'm like, dude, that is such a beautiful, dangerous prayer, right? Because God will do that. Yeah. If you give him permission, God will definitely search your heart, break your heart for what breaks his. Yeah. And he will wreck you in the most beautiful way to build you back up. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, dude, I see the change in you, man. Like, you have a glow about you that just says, like, man, you are intimate with the Father right now. You know? And he actually has a ministry background from, you know, his home country. And he always said that he felt so convicted, you know, living with his girlfriend, whatever, yada yada. They both came to church, and man, if there's one thing that I could say on how to stay faithful to your calling, is that, man, get into your prayer closet, shut the door, fast if you have to fast, get off social media.
That's good.
Go on a 3-day water fast or whatever you can health wise. Don't go and kill yourself, but you know, do whatever you have to do to get intimate with the Lord, because that is what's going to create in you the fire that this friend of ours has right now for the church. You know, like, this guy now is like serving like never before. He because he couldn't before, right? Because interests were split. You get me? Now, and he told me, he's like, man, you know, being single is a gift. And it's like, and it is. And that's what I tell everybody, man. I'm like, bro, being single is a gift. It's a gift from God, and people in church unfortunately treat it like it's a freaking curse.
Yeah.
And it's not, man. And neither is marriage. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Marriage is a beautiful gift because God created marriage. It was his idea.
Right.
So was singleness, because Adam was alone before he ever got Eve.
I mean, Jesus was single.
And Jesus was single.
Yeah.
And Paul was single.
Yeah. I always say like singleness is your time to secure your devotion to God.
Yes.
That is the time. You want to be secure, it's in your singleness.
Yeah.
It's into your devotion of God. And so that person, they're doing the right thing.
They're doing the right thing.
By pursuing God in the way they are. And I think it's a good model for, someone who might be watching who's going through, a breakup and that's serving and they're struggling. And because, I always don't like being heartless about it. It is sad. Like in a sense, you're mourning something that's died.
Of course. Yeah.
And there's no better person to go to who can handle your distress, your emotions than God. I mean, he cares that you are weeping it, or, you can't sleep at night because of a breakup.
Right.
That is very personal to the Lord, that his son or his daughter is struggling with something and they're mourning for something. He's not heartless about it. I think all the more reason you need to go to Jesus is because, not only does he understand or relate, but he's there present with you in the moment. Like you're not alone. It's very easy to feel alone in a breakup. You're single, and it's like you said, the routine is gone, and your schedule is different, and so now you have to lean on friends and let me get around my boys, but they're not always available. You struggle with this loneliness. Run to the Lord. He is always there. And I think there's so much healing there in that place, and you'll find it in prayer, you'll find it in scripture, and and just involve him every time you feel like it's getting hard. Bring the Lord into it.
I love that you mentioned community real quick, as you said, let me lean on my boy. And you're right, yes, your boys are not always going to be there.
They're
not, but it's so important, because another thing that this friend of ours is doing, he's hanging around us now more. He's hanging around us more with Richie, and he's just in community. And he told me, he's like, man, I was missing this for so long. And Tim Ross always says this, that I might be butchering the first part, something about like, you I'm gonna just say the second part, you heal in community, right? Like I think it's like you find freedom in Jesus, but you find healing in community, right? Like we heal together. And it's so true, because, I remember when I was going through my breakup, which was not church, it was worldly, but still when I was going through my breakup, what helped me heal so much was that I found Sandro and Chris, and I started hanging around the dinner party, and I started building my community of guys. And man, that helped me immensely. Don't get me wrong, I found freedom in Jesus by myself in my room when I rededicated my life to the Lord. But my healing came in my community.
I mean, it's the principle of confession, right? Like James 5:16, confess your sins to one another, and what is it? Confess your sins to one another.
So the righteous prayers will heal you.
That one, it's been a long day. But I think we think of sins and we think of things that are bad immediately. But I think the principle there is true. Like, confess your sins to one of those, you might find healing. And I think even confess what you're going through.
Man, your heartbreak.
Confess your heartbreak. Confess what you're feeling. Confess what you're going through. How you actually feel. Right. Don't give me the too blessed to be stressed. It's like, bro, how are you really feeling, man?
Correct.
I'm devastated.
Too blessed to be stressed.
Like, I'm devastated. I'm hurt. I'm going through it. Like, confess that in your community to be healed.
Yeah, man.
And something I wanted to share was out of 1 Corinthians 7. Paul says, I want you to be free from anxieties. It's really interesting. Anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. So,
split interests.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, if singleness is a gift, people see it as a curse, and I think we need to shift how we talk, even in church, culture, etc. But singleness is a gift. You get to identify who you are, what you like, what you don't like. And when you go through a breakup, right, we're talking about this conversation, I think the answer to true healing is going deeper for the Lord. And it sounds cliche, it sounds super spiritual, but take advantage of that time, because man, I've been through breakups. I've been through nasty breakups. And like, the only way to heal is to literally throw yourself to the deep end with the Lord. That's extra prayer. Like if you only pray once a day, up it up to 3 times a day. If you've never fasted, fast. If you were only going to church on Sundays, see if there's a small group. See if there's a Wednesday night service. If you're only, I don't know, if you're only reading the word once a day, read it twice a day. Like, go deeper for the Lord. I think that's the only way to truly heal. And I think it's evident in like your friend's story, right? Like, he was able to immerse himself fully in every aspect. And so I think that's the answer. Immersing yourself fully from head to toe. Like, imagine it like a pool, like a body of water. Don't just
go to the deep end.
I'm so hurt, and you're gonna put your foot in the water. No, throw your whole body. Yeah, you need healing from that, and so
it's true. And I think especially when going through a breakup, it's so important to surrender everything. I think it was Nate, right? He brought up like, oh, give God your 100% yes. Don't give him the 95%, and you still have something you're holding back. Like, no, like, give God everything. Especially when it comes to navigating a breakup, because again, there's a possibility you guys could get back together. You guys are still in ministry, and maybe you guys are praying like, oh Lord, if it's your will for us to get back together, sure. But like Sandro said, what if it's not God's will?
Yeah.
And what if you guys just move on?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And you end up with somebody else, the person God does have for you.
And the thing is, realize this too, you're delaying yourself from the actual blessing that God has for you if that's not the person.
Right.
God's, I don't think God's going to send you the correct person while you're still over here crying and hurting over your ex.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So the quicker you heal, I believe the quicker the Lord will send you the right person.
This reminds me of, this is a good passage. Sorry, you just speaking. I remember because to go back, the original questions, like, how do you serve with someone who you've broken up with, right? Like,
how do we navigate a breakup while serving in the same ministry?
It's funny, going off of what you just said, is, do you guys remember when God had rejected King Saul and Samuel was devastated?
Yes.
Like, he was crying.
Yeah.
And he cried and he cried. And it took God telling Samuel, he's like, hey, you've cried enough. It was at some point
in the softest way. Get over it.
He kind of.
Yeah.
And then what does he immediately do? He was just like, I've already chosen my king. And he's like, and he leads Samuel to go find David. And it's just like, sometimes we're so caught up in what's dead, like, and it's gone, and we're crying, and it's valid. And I love God's response, because he doesn't stop. He lets Samuel have a mourning season. He does. It's just God doesn't let him stay there. And he's like, I have something way better than a Saul. I have a King David. That's
good.
And so Samuel was heartbroken because he anointed Saul.
And that was like his son.
Yeah, he probably felt like a bit of a failure himself. Like, how did this king go so south? He doesn't, and it's like God's like, hey, I have a better.
That's so good.
A better king, on the way. So
that's so good, dude. And I'm sure that people who go through these church breakups, right? Like breakups in church, feel that way. Like, dang, like, we're both serving God. We're, we both met.
I thought we heard clearly.
Like, everybody always told us, like, man, I can see you guys together.
Yeah.
And then, like, what happened? That's so good, dude. And sometimes God will hit you with that. It's like, hey, dude, that's it.
Yeah, mourning.
You've cried enough.
There is a period, I'm very respectful to people's emotions and their mourning periods. I think there's a health to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
1,000%.
There is a time where I think, I think it overstays
necessary.
its welcome.
Yeah.
And there's a time where that should and needs to end.
Ecclesiastes 3 says, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens.
That's good.
Scroll down a little bit more. A time to kill and a time to heal. There's a time to tear down and a time to build. There's a time to plant, a time to uproot. There's a time to mourn and a time to dance.
Yes.
There's a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love, time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Like, that's Ecclesiastes.
Perfect.
That's King Solomon, right? I mean, there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
And so I love that you said that, right? Like, the Lord gives us a space to heal and to mourn. And I think, like you said, I'm not saying like if you broke up today, like, hey bro, get over it. Come on.
Because that's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not like that either. But take your time. But that's why I said start praying immediately. Like, Lord, heal my heart, because I've seen firsthand like what happens when people stay on that lingering thought and false hope of we're probably gonna get back together. I think the Lord wants us together.
That's so good.
A year goes by.
Yeah.
The girl finds someone else and they're even more heartbroken. And it's like, bro, because you haven't done the work.
You haven't done the work.
You could have been healed.
You're still focused on this thing. I love going back to prayer, because it's like, how do we navigate this situation that I'm in? And prayer, we're stuck on prayer. It's so big. Yeah. it's a great time in your life to put God's promises to the test. Really try him at his word. It's like, do you believe what he said about you? He's on your side.
Yeah.
He's on their side too. Don't get me wrong. There's not a bad guy. I'm not trying to paint this you versus them picture. But God has your best interest in mind. Do you believe in God's promises in this season? Oh, but I serve with them. It's hard, but like, you don't think that like God's aware that you're in this season, that he has you there?
Right.
He has you there, quite literally. You're in this predicament, but you have God on your side. There's a David on the way. You're King David, that you're maybe caught up in the situation of something, and God's like, hey, your eyes are here, and I need you to just shift over here a little bit. Put God's promises to the test. He's faithful. He's not going to leave. He's not going to abandon you.
Yeah. I mean, the famous verse. Oh, sorry. Finish your thought.
No, and the treasures of your heart, the desires of your heart. He's not ignorant to them. He's well aware of what you're doing. If you want to get married, there's someone on the way. That is for sure God has that for you. 100%. He will provide 100. Everything you need. And I think your prayer should be, God, satisfy me in this season.
That's good.
Like Jesus.
Dude, that's so good.
I don't want to be, caught up in this situation. It's, what, you should pray against distraction more than anything else in your life. Because it shouldn't be, well, this person, my ex is distracting me so much. People do is they go find another girl. And I'm like, wrong. Whoa, that's not what
saca al otro.
You need to do is prayer be, Jesus, satisfy me completely. Like from the inside out, that exactly where I'm at in this situation, won't you be my everything? That needs to be a huge prayer.
Dude, that is so good. Can we just real quick before you share that, just stay on that for a little bit of what do people do? What do a lot of people do when they break up? They go and they find somebody else.
Go and find someone
else. Let me tell you, that's very worldly. And you even see that in church.
You do.
Oh man, I have seen people who were together for 2-3 years break up, and then either the girl or the guy
pop right into
like 2 months after they're already with somebody. I'm like, but my brother, you just broke up like 2 months ago.
It's like you're not healed.
You're not, and you're not
You didn't
healed.
mourn. You didn't heal, and then
all you did was numb your pain.
You're filling exactly. You're trying to fill a void.
You know how you're really healed? No, I'm sorry. This came to mind. You're really healed. It's like when you can pray for your ex-partner.
Oh yeah.
When you can pray for God to bless them with the man, the spouse that God has for them.
Yes, dude.
Because it changes your prayer, right? Instead of Lord, please let it be, bring us back together. Lord,
let it be me. I would even go one further, because that's true. If you can say that sincerely, but even when you're not thinking about them, it comes a point where it's like, I'm not praying for my ex at all.
Fair enough.
I don't. It's not even on my mind. It's just like, but I know what you mean. Yes. It's like you get to that place, but then even past that, it's just like, I don't.
Don't let that be a constant. Prayer.
It's like
where you're praying for their next spouse. Like, but you can throw that one up there.
I know, right?
It should be a thing where it's just like, it's not. It doesn't consume my mind anymore. Like I'm just like, It's like it should be a thing where someone brings up. You know how many times? Oh my gosh, my friends will be like, hey, remember you used to date so and so? I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I was
like, oh,
dude, yes,
come on,
yes, it's so true, man.
And then they make fun of me for it, and I'm like, why are you bringing this up? Please stop.
That's funny.
But it's a thing. I think you should forget. I think when you're really healed, I think when you move on, people will remind you of things before you remember. You're like, 1,000%. Oh yeah, that was the thing.
Yep.
I was gonna say real quick, out of Proverbs 18:22, the famous verse: "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and receives favor from the Lord."
Amen.
I mean, how can you find someone if you're still stuck on this past thing? Right? It's like having a whole world out there, but you're still stuck on this thing. You're not gonna be able to find the one that God has for you. So, I think that's key. You have to find the wife.
Yeah.
And if the one that you just broke up with, turns out that's not the one. So keep looking. Also, I mean, obviously heal first and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you can't find what God has for you if you're stuck on the old.
Yeah.
You can't find. And again, I always say this from personal experience. Me and my wife, the right person at the wrong time is the wrong person.
Yep.
Kim and I met in August of 2018. And it was not the right time. Yeah. God knew in his divine providence and his divine foreknowledge, he knew that was my wife. And he still told me, not right now.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't reveal to me that she was my wife yet, because I needed to heal. I was heartbroken, but I needed to heal so that when we did get together, I could be whole. And so that's important. Lord, heal my heart, make me whole, because this whole stuff, I was going to say something else, the stuff that's culture, like two halves, No, you're not two halves that come together. She's my other half. No, that's not true.
Oh, you complete me.
No,
Jesus complete.
Yes, you're one whole person. You're two whole people that then become one. So that's important. They're nuances, but they're important. They carry a lot of weight, a lot of implications, and so I don't know. I think. Do you think I have anything else to add? Were you going to say something else?
No, I mean, I was just going to ask this next question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Can God still use you in a place that currently feels painful? So can God still use you even in the midst of your pain? I think the short answer is yes. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
I think of the Beatitudes. It's the first thing that Jesus preaches or teaches, and it's so. I love how Jesus comes onto the scene. Quick context, we have the Pharisees. We have how they've been interpreting the law, how they've been teaching, and people at this point are under the assumption that, like, if I have it together and, if I follow these commands, and it's very religious and I'm close and near to the heart of God. So, if I'm very rich in these ways, rich spiritually, kingdom of heaven is mine. And the first thing Jesus says, Matthew 5, is he said, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And he just flips it upside down. It doesn't say those who are rich in spirit and those who have it all together and don't feel any pain or whatever. It's he comes onto the scene. He says those who are poor in spirit, they are blessed.
It's good.
For they recognize their need for him.
Yeah.
If your pain drives you to Jesus, I think you're in the best position for him to use you.
That's 1,000%.
In ministry or even outside of the church. That is such an. Paul says, the thorn in his flesh. That passage, big famous passage. If you don't know it, he has a problem, doesn't specify, and he prays for God to remove it. It's painful. It's clearly it bothered him enough where he begged God to remove
three
this.
times.
Three times, and each time God said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in your weakness. I think your pain is another area where it's like, hey, this is God's power. An opportunity for him to work through your weakness, through your pain.
And I think some thorns can be seasonal. Obviously Paul's wasn't, but I think some can, like a breakup. You could consider that, this is the thorn in my side in this season of like, man, I'm like asking God, like, Lord, please, like, heal me, let me get over it. Like, I don't want to think about him anymore. And sometimes God takes you through a walk rather than just radically healing you and you magically get over this person and you don't think about him anymore. Like, no, sometimes there's work to be put, right? And one thing that you said, right, you were like, if your pain has driven you to Jesus, you're in the best place, right?
Yeah.
And something that I wanted to bring up was that God doesn't waste pain.
Right.
And I tell that to a lot of people. I'm like, God doesn't waste anything you're going through. That's why there's that famous verse, Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So, and that means everything. It's not just your, when you're doing good at work, when you're doing good at church, your breakup, when you get fired, when you lose a family member, everything, good and bad, everything turns out for the good, especially when you're going through something like this, right, where it's a painful breakup and it sucks having to see this person. Don't get me wrong. Is it hard to see this person every single day? 1,000%. I'm sure it is. But you will get through it as long as you have intimacy with the Lord and you let that pain take you to the Lord rather than taking you to whatever the world tells you to go do.
That's good. I always tell people like you said, like God wastes nothing. I believe the purpose for pain, because it's such a hard theological question. Like, God, if you're so loving, why do you allow me to feel pain? It's a big, deep question. And truthfully, I think pain is the best tool that God can use. Or the purpose of pain is to teach us how to love people well, real. I think people who have gone through a lot of pain and they healed in a healthy way where they run to Jesus, they love people better than anyone else. I think so, at least.
No, I mean,
where you go through something like this. I think if you're in a season, where you're serving, but can God still use you in your pain? I think you can love people way better now, than you can do before this season.
Yeah.
Because if you can understand a pain, you can love people who are also in pain.
Right.
You can understand where they're coming from. You can relate a little bit better. I think so. Really good question. I think, yes, God can use you in spite of a season for pain, in spite that you're in a season for pain. Look at Jesus on the cross. I think people forget so much that, yes, it was the worst crucifixion spiritually, physically, and I think it's not talked about enough emotionally.
Yeah.
It was even emotionally, he was crucified. I mean, betrayed.
He was so anxious, he started sweating blood.
Tears. Yes. I wish it was talked about more. God can use you in a place of pain 100%. Jesus was a great example of that. And probably it is the most painful place. He was used for the crucifixion.
1,000%. 1,000%. Do you want to add anything else?
I agree. I think that I think two answers can be true, and it depends on a case by case basis. But I'm also thinking of you got to be honest with yourself, and because you let's say you're really going through a bad breakup and whatnot, you could still maybe. It's just I'm going back and forth in my head because it's true. You could probably lead someone really well. Someone that's going through pain, you can lead them really well if you're going through pain. But you also got to know yourself, how healed you are, because like, for example, let's say maybe I'm going through a bad breakup and I'm not healed from that, but maybe I can help someone going through an addiction. So yes, God can use you. But specifically, if we get more granular, I think if you're still hurting over the breakup and you're still maybe a little petty, maybe don't do a relationship Q&A. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Pastor
I gotta co-sign that. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So have self-awareness.
Yeah, don't be out there like, I put me on, Pastor, because I got
feel
something to say.
We've all seen that happen where someone's like doing like a testimonial video, and I'm like, is this a testimony video, or are you dragging someone's name through the mud?
Like, are you venting right now in front of the camera? Like,
this person was horrible. They cheated on me. Dude, I caught them doing this, but the Lord healed me. It's like, healed you?
Is that a testimony? Right. I have to. Yeah.
You don't sound healed. You sound like you're going through it.
You sound like you still hate your ex-wife,
exactly. Dude. So that's what I mean.
You're 100% right. Yeah. I mean if you've gone through pain,
fair enough.
Teaches you to love people well. If you're in pain, cuidado, like, careful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cuidado.
But even think about it, because like God uses everything. So I'm not diminishing someone else's testimony, but imagine someone that, again, don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't cancel me for this, but because again, God uses everything. But imagine a cookie cutter Christian, grew up in church, never went through any trauma, was a virgin till marriage, has everything. And then you got on the other side a gangster with crazy testimony, was almost killed, drugs, blah, blah, blah. It's like, both testimonies, most people will be like, oh, that testimony was crazy, versus the guy who was like, no, man, God is good. I never really went through anything. So even from that perspective, like it's not to take away from that other testimony, but I'm thinking of like, I went to a conference recently and there was this guy who was sharing a story of how his first marriage ended because he was at the gym and someone broke into their house. His wife was in the house and they shot the wife. Like they broke into the house. They were stealing stuff and they shot the wife. He shows up. His wife's dead on the ground. Oh my God. And bro, he's sharing that testimony live. And then he shares a story of how he met his new wife and how his family and whatnot. Tell me that story isn't impactful, right? Like, man, that guy knows what suffering is like, versus, again, someone who maybe has never gone through suffering. So that's why I say I agree with you. Yeah. Someone who's been through the pain. And to be fair, even to the cookie cutter hypothetical guy who I just spoke about, I think that we will all go through pain at some point. Yes. Like we're all going to go through suffering. And that's something that I think we don't preach enough about. Suffering, I think every single person, and especially believers, I mean, that's biblical. You're going to face persecution at some point. And the Bible says that it rains on the just and the just and the unjust alike. So if you've never experienced rain, I hate to break it to you, the rain will come at some point. I mean, I've yet to meet someone who's never experienced rain, pain. reign in pain.
Welcome to Christianity. I think that should be a podcast episode.
Oh no,
welcome.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I literally.
That's a really good talk.
I'm cooking something right now.
I love that passage. Not to go 1 second, because it's so counterintuitive to like any fabricated religion, and it's just like Jesus as
fabricated religion. I like that's what I'm gonna hit everybody with now.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Not this one, but there's Jesus. It's great when he talks about suffering and even persecution. He's like listing all the things, and he was like, when these things happen to you, he doesn't say like, I'll come and rescue you. He goes, I'll be with you.
Yeah,
and that's the gospel.
Yes.
It's not that when you suffer, that the promise is you're going to be rescued, which sometimes yes, but that's not what's promised. The promise is he's with you.
Yeah, and it doesn't say
he is a shepherd.
That's when.
Yeah, he's like, when they come for you, when you're persecuted, when they curse your name, he goes, I'll be with you.
Yeah,
that's who our God is.
Yeah,
anyway, another podcast episode.
That is another podcast episode. Yeah,
really
that's good. That's good. Keep that thought. All right, well, I think we can start wrapping up.
Before we go into part 2 already.
We're going to start spiraling.
That was really good at the end
what
you were sharing.
Yeah. Praise God.
That was good, man. Well, boys, this was a good episode. Shout out to, the person that sent that DM. I hope that we answered your question. I'll let them know that we answered their question.
Awesome.
It was a few weeks ago, so who knows? Maybe they'll be good by the time that they hear this episode,
Praise God.
We pray that you're good.
We pray that you're good. Yeah. And they are doing very well at church. I do want to shout them out quietly, like, you're doing better than you think.
They'll know.
They'll know. They'll know. All righty, guys. We can start wrapping up.
Thank you guys for coming to Tampa.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I miss you guys.
I was looking at my laptop.
The Tampa stew.
The Tampa stew.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. For sure, dude. Tampa is like a home away from home ever since you moved over here, dude.
I know. I appreciate that. All right. Love you guys before we start crying. Peace out.
Later.
Until next time. Peace.